Tonight's class, 48 hours before Yom Kippur. I should actually mention that we're having the big Yom Kippur Derasha speech tomorrow night in the main room. Men and women are invited, and that's going to be as well called for 8 o'clock. That's the 24-hour before Kal Nidre speech. The countdown. But that's the point. You see, the point is that we're counting down. That's how big it is. So let's begin tonight, 48 hours before. Rabotai, I'm about to go in a direction, specifically when speaking about Yom Kippur, that I've never went before. And I'm really hoping that this direction will open up a whole different presence and understanding of the great day of Yom Kippurim and what exactly we're in for. This is something special. Here we go. Modeh ani lifanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechizarta v'nishmati b'chemla, rabba emunatecha. That's something that we say every morning. We open our eyes, the first words out of our mouth. Modeh ani lifanecha. I am thanking you, Hashem. Grammatically, does that make sense in the Hebrew that we say? Modeh ani lifanecha? If I'm saying thank you, Hashem, I should have said Modeh ani lecha. What's this lifanecha? I open my eyes. I start my first words of the day with a thank you. And instead of saying it grammatically correct, thank you Hashem, Modeh ani lecha, I end up saying something odd. Modeh ani lifanecha. Thank you Hashem before you. I am thanking in front of you. Isn't that a little weird? I'm talking to Hashem. Of course I'm thanking in front of Him. Modeh ani lifanecha. I'm starting my day thanking in front of you. I'm starting my day with an amazing realization and a reminder that I am standing in front of you. And my first thanks of the day, my first modeh ani is that I am lifanecha. That I am standing in front of you. Wow. I'm going to challenge you tonight to look through your Siddur. You'll find that the word lifanecha is used tens of times, and every single time, I'm going to challenge you, you're going to find out that the word is not needed to make the sentence make sense. The sentence would make sense without it. And therefore the word lifanecha is always extra. It's saying something else than just the sentence itself. Example. Get ready for this because it's 48 hours before Yom Kippurim. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha. Do I need lifanecha? I'm talking to Hashem. All I have to do is say, Al chet shechatanu be. Al chet shechatanu fanecha bishgaga. Al chet shechatanu fanecha bizadon. Al chet shechatanu fanecha b'timhon levav. Al chet shechatanu fanecha be. What's the lifanecha? Al chet shechatanu, that's it. Al chet shechatanu bishgaga. Al chet shechatanu be'ones. Beratzon. What's this lifanecha? We're going to find out tonight that this word lifanecha is telling us something unbelievable. This word lifanecha is telling us. What do you need? The word lifanecha is telling us something unbelievable. Al chet shechatanu. You know what the biggest chet was? Lifanecha. That I was standing right in front of you when I did that sin. Bizadon. I was standing right in front of you when I did that sin. And I ate what I wasn't supposed to eat. I was standing right in front of you when I did this sin. Of all different types of sins and averot that we're going to mention in the Al Chet. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha. More than the actual sin itself, more than just the act of averah that we've done, a bigger problem was that we did it in front of you. How did I forget who I was standing in front of? How did I forget Lifanecha? Lifanecha Malkeinu. How did I forget that I was standing in front of you? And maybe what's even worse than the sin itself is the forgetting, Hashem, that I was standing in front of you. Because if I would have been cognizant, if I would have been clear that I'm standing in front of you at that moment, I would never have done that Avera. So the fact that I did that Avera is a demonstration that I forgot your presence. I forgot I was standing in front of God. That's a tremendous alchet in itself. That's the word Lifanecha. Modeh ani Lifanecha. My biggest thanks is that I stand in front of you at all times. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. Unbelievable. And I'm going to challenge you guys. You're going to see, now that you heard this incredible idea, you're going to open up your Siddur and you're going to see tons of times in our tefillot the word Lifanecha is used, and it is used again and again and again, and you'll see that the sentence makes sense without it. You could read the same sentence minus the word Lifanecha. So what is it doing there? It's coming to tell me a certain revelation. It's a reminder. It's telling you that what you're saying now is in front of Hashem. And that's what makes it so big. So here we are, before this Yom Hadin, and we're coming now to say Al Chet so many times. We are to be reminded that it's not just the Al Chet that I sinned, but it's that I sinned in front of you. It's not just that I did the Avera, but I did the Avera in front of you. Ay, ay, ay. I want to tell you this incredible mashal that's brought by the Maggid. The Maggid tells us, you know, all the Maggid mashalim generally start with a king, right? So, there was a king. And his advisors came and told him that, you know, your old friend, you grew up with him since childhood, he lives on the other side of the kingdom, your old buddy. Your Honor, Your Majesty, you know how serious you are when it comes to that law that you made of the land. No gambling? Well, guess what? Your old childhood friend, he lives on the other side of the kingdom. He opened the casino! Not only does he gamble, but he opened the casino. He's open for business. He's rolling, no pun intended. He's rolling. Everyone's going to this guy's casino to gamble. The king hears this and says, what? My old friend, so-and-so. We were best friends when we were kids. Grew up on the same block. We were like brothers. Nah, I don't believe it. Can't be. Can't be. He's a great guy. He comes from a good family. He comes from a good home. You must have made a mistake. You got the wrong guy. Not true. Huh? 2 weeks later, they come back to the king. Your Majesty, listen. You remember that old childhood friend that we told you about? I said, yeah. He just opened a second casino. I'm telling you, it's the right guy. It's the guy that you grew up with. It's your old friend. He's opening a second casino. Your Majesty, please. You got to do something. You are very strong. You outlawed gambling to save the country from falling to that addiction. Your Majesty, your best friend just opened the second casino. Do something. The king hears it and says, you guys. How do I even rely on you? You always mess up your information. You got the wrong guy. I know the guy you're talking about. He's a great guy. He would never do that to me. Comes from a great family, great parents. Come on, what are you talking about? You got the wrong guy. Your Majesty, I'm telling you, I don't want to hear this again. That's it. Leave me alone. It's not the guy that's my friend. They drop it. A month later, there was the Royal County Fair. I don't know if you guys are not really old enough to know what a county fair is. Back in the day, this actually was popular in the mountains. They would come from all over the place. It looked like this huge flea market. They would come from all over and bring their wares. And you would walk up and down the aisles and see what everyone's selling. And then from the county fairs, they started to bring rides and shows. And little by little, from what was once upon a time the old county fair, is today's what you would call amusement parks. But they started with the old county fairs. That's the way they were born, so to speak, in American culture. The county fair was once very popular, going back hundreds of years ago, where people would come from all different cities in the kingdom, and they would come to this one city where they ran the county fair. And the reason why it was called the Royal County Fair is because the king himself would make a showing by the county fair. And that was a big thing. They actually get to see the king. They actually shake his hand. They could actually talk to him. It's a big deal. Well, the month of the Royal County Fair came, and the king shows up to the county fair, and he sees that the whole kingdom came out to the county fair, and it was wow. And everyone brought their wares, and everyone's selling their stuff off their tables, as a typical flea market county fair would look like. And then, of course, you had a few sideshows and some entertainment, like the typical county fair. And as the king is walking up and down the aisle, shaking the hands of the people, all of a sudden, he can't believe his eyes. The king looks straight down the row, and he sees his old friend. His old childhood friend. The one that they've been telling him about, and he's been telling him, nah. And he's out there in front of a booth with a big microphone, a bullhorn, and he's announcing, step up, place your bets. Step up, place your bets. There's a big roulette table, blackjack table. Step up, place your bets. The king says, what? Shh, I can't believe my eyes. What a chutzpah this guy has. He knows this is the Royal County Fair. He knows the king is going to be here at the fair. And he shows up with his gambling tables. I can't believe it. I got to see this for myself. The king actually marches his way right down the aisle. He walks right up and he sees his friend. Doesn't even see the king coming. He's so into the roulette table, pulling another bet in and another guy in. And he's announcing who's stepping up next. Who's going to be a winner. The king is standing looking at him straight in the face. And this guy is running his gambling tables. like there was no issue. Finally, he turns around and he sees the king. And he sees the king's face is red. Such anger. The king looks at him and he says, "You have such a chutzpah in front of my face? Right here in front of my face? You know, when you were on the other side of the kingdom, and you were somewhere far away, and they were coming and telling me once and twice that you're opening casinos and you're opening gambling centers, I brushed it away. I made believe and turned the cheek like it wasn't going on. I know you would do what you were doing. I know what you were up to. But even when they came and reported it to me, I brushed it away. I turned the cheek. I said, nah, he's a good guy." Erech Hapayim. Hashem is very slow to anger. Erech Hapayim is very patient. "Nah, leave him alone." The angels come up and tell him, "But you know what this guy, nah, come on. He's a good kid. He comes from a good family. Erech Hapayim. Leave him alone." But the king says to the guy, "But that's when you were far away. But here you knew that this is the Royal County Fair. You know that I show up to this. You were ready to do this right in front of my face, knowing that I'm here?" That's the biggest chutzpah of all. Off with his head. Psh. These 10 days of the year are what I call the Lifanecha experience. Hashem is closer these 10 days to us than any other days of the year. And that's why sometimes you hear some people say, "Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, I only drink Chalav Yisrael. Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, I don't eat out in restaurants. Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, I'm very careful with this, that, and the other thing." And people look at these guys funny. They say, "Wow, what kind of game are you playing? Like what? All year you can eat whatever you want, and all of a sudden, Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, Chalav Yisrael." But it's not a game. It's not a game. The answer is because on these 10 days, you're right in front of the king's face. Lifanecha Malkeinu. Right in front of Hashem's face. And Hashem says, when I'm looking straight in your face, so close to you, I want to see a different behavior, a better behavior, a better reaction. That's the Lifanecha experience. And chas v'shalom, Hashem says, listen, what you did all year, that was far away, so to speak. The angels came and told me the guy's doing this, the guy's doing that. I knocked it down. I said, nah, he's a good guy, he's a good family. You got it all wrong. Come on, leave him alone, he's a good kid. But in Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, you're here in the Royal County Fair. You know the presence of the king makes this what it is. You're looking the king straight in the face. Yes, you be darn right straight that demands a very different behavior. And that's going to be the highlight. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha. It's one thing bad enough that I did the sin. But the bigger chutzpah was that I did it lifanecha. Abba, I did it in front of your face. I forgot you were there. I forgot you were looking me straight in the eye. How did I do that? Gewalt, how did I do that? Ay. And therefore it makes sense to me now something. Reb Cheskel, I hope you're going to love this, what I'm about to say now. It makes sense to me something. All the Mefarshim ask a question. Over Yom Kippur, we say again and again, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. I should say that grammatically correct. Hashem Melech, right? It's Melech. It's not Milira. Hashem Melech, Hashem malach. Hashem yimloch le'olam va'ed. We say it again and again and again. And all the Balei Musar and the Mefarshim ask, isn't that out of contents? Isn't that out of order? How do we go with text? It's always haya, hove, yeh, right? I mean, generally, no. I mean, that's generally the way we say things. When we talk about the past, the present, and then the future. And yet, when it comes to the Hashem Melech, what are we saying? Hashem Melech, right now. We start with the present first. Hashem Malach. Then we refer to the past. Hashem Yimloch Leolam Vayed. Wait 1 second. You got that out of order. What happened to the order? That's not generally the way we cover the order. It's always past, present, future. And the answer is no. To talk about the past is easy. To talk about the future is grand. But it's the present. Hashem Melech. I'm standing in front of the Melech. And that's what I start with first. Lifanecha. Milfanecha. I'm Lifanecha. Hashem Melech. Right here, right now, this moment. I'm standing in front of Him. His rule, His kingship, His jurisdiction is right here, right now, in front of me. I need to be machnia and realize the presence of the Melech at the moment. Hashem Melech do I start with first. Because that's more important than anything else. Malach and Yimloch, that's easy. Melech, that's the most important. Lifanecha malkeinu rekam al teshivenu. I am standing lifanecha. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha. How did I do that sin right in front of your face? It was bad enough that I did it, but I did it with such chutzpah. I did it in front of your face, right in front of you. And for the fact that I did it, shows that I forgot that I was standing in front of you. I forgot your presence. I forgot that I was standing in front of God. It was as if for that minute my godly beliefs were out to lunch. God forbid to even say a thing like that. Hashem Melech. Wow. I hope this Kippur, when you say Hashem Melech, you shake. Hashem Melech, I'm standing in front of you. I sinned to you. I sinned in front of you. Give out, what did I do? Those are the feelings. That's the prep. 48 hours before. It's amazing. You l'ratzon emrefi ve'agyon libi lifanecha. Amazing. Every time the word lifanecha is there, it's always the lifanecha experience. You could take it out of the sentence, it still makes perfect sense. So why is it there? To remind me of the biggest reminder that a Jew needs to live with every waking moment of his life. That I am in front of Hashem. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. Unbelievable. Ay, 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 ay. Gentlemen, I want to share with you a midrash. But before I tell you the midrash, I want to show you something very powerful on the point that we just spoke about. Sim shalom tova ubracha. Chaim, chen v'chesed, rachamim. Aleinu v'akol Yisrael amecha. Baruchenu avinu kulanu kecha borba. Ki be'or panecha natata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. Did you ever stop for a minute and ask yourself, what do these words mean? Ki be'or panecha natata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. Torah v'chaim. ahava v'chesed, tzedakah berachamim, beracha v'shalom. Wow, that's basically everything. That's everything. That's the Torah, that's life, that's chesed, that's health, that's beracha, that's wealth, that's happiness. That's basically everything. You know how everything was given to you? Ki be'or panecha. With the light of your face, God, everything was given to us. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? That these light beams came out of Kivyachol Hashem's face, and it gave us all these wonderful gifts of what we call life? Torah v'chaim, ahava v'chesed, tzedakah v'rachamim, beracha v'shalom. What does that mean? Did you ever stop and ask yourself? Ki be'or panecha, because of the light of my recognition of your face. The light here doesn't mean a physical light, it means the light of understanding. It's the or panecha. It's the light of the understanding that I am lifanecha. That understanding brings to me everything. Torah, v'chaim, ahava, v'chesed. But the minute I forget that or, that realization that I am lifanecha, I can lose it all. I can lose it all. I can lose my Torah. I can lose my life. I can lose everything. Because at that moment, if you don't remember who you're standing in front of, you are liable to be exposed to the Yetzer Hara's will, and you could do anything, and that could destroy you in a moment. So what keeps me alive? What keeps me going? It's the Or Panecha that keeps me alive. It's the Or, the realization of your face in front of me, that keeps me gaining Torah, v'chaim, ahava, v'chesed. Because without that, I'd lose it all in a minute. Come on, guys, wake up. Feel. Feel what I'm telling you. Because you feel what I'm telling you, you'll feel it in the room. He's right here now. Here. In front of your face, looking at you dead in the eye. Now, Aser Emet Teshuvah, even closer. Even closer. He's rubbing up against your earlobe as close as the way one person would tell another person a secret. That's how close he is. In these days. These days we have to walk around awestruck. So let me tell you now the Medrash. Here's the Medrash. I told you I'd give you the Medrash. Here's the Medrash. I told this Medrash over the years many times. When I was young, I heard this Medrash and it moved me. It moved me unbelievable. The Medrash is found in Midrash Rabbah in Parashat Toldot, nonetheless. Yeah, there's a find. Parashat Toldot. It's the Medrash of Yosef Meshisa. That's what a Samach. Yosef Meshisa. Let me tell you this story. It's a heartbreaking story a little bit, but it has this great understanding at the end. We're talking here in the time of the destruction of Bet HaMikdash. The Goyim already broke into the Bet HaMikdash, and before they destroyed it, they wanted to plunder the magnificent gold and silver kelim of the Bet HaMikdash. We've spoken about this a lot. We've spoken about Titos, we've spoken about the menorah, we've had many shiurim on this. But here's something interesting. Says the Midrash, when the Goyim captured the Bet HaMikdash finally, they were scared. You hear that? They were scared. They knew this is God's house. They knew about the 10 miracles that happened there every single day. The whole world knew. But at the same time, they're coming out to destroy it? Who are you fooling? And to plunder and rob? This is God's house. I mean, you don't need an alarm system on God's house. They said, we're not going in. The Goyim looked at each other and said, I'm not going in. No way am I going. It's God's house. So what did they do? They had to find someone, a volunteer, to go in and bring out the magnificent treasures of the Bet HaMikdash. So they make an announcement to all the Jews. They said, if any Jew will go in for us and bring out the treasures of the Bet HaMikdash, we will award you with magnificent wealth, prosperity, honor. Who's going in? All the Jews looked at the Goyim. Are you joking? You think we're going to go into the Bet HaMikdash? And we're going to steal from the Kelim? For you, for the Goyim? Are you crazy? What Jew would do that? Come on. The Goyim saw that they had no takers. Not even the not-so-religious Jew. Nobody would go in. So they upped the ante. They announced, okay, anyone that's going to go into the Bet HaMikdash, bring out the gold and silver for us. Not only are we going to make you rich, we're going to give you the first 5 years of taxes of the entire city of Jerusalem. We're going to make you the governor of Jerusalem. You're going to be high prestige by the Caesar. You're going to have more money than... Wow, they really poured it on. The governor, 5 years of taxes of a city. You know what type of... We can't even count those numbers. Wow. It's okay, who's going in? One Jew steps forward. Yosef Meshisa. And he says, I'm going to go in. He says, 5 years of taxes? Yes. Governor of Jerusalem? Yes. Okay, I'll go in. The people start yelling at him. Russia! Russia! How could you? How could you? Aib! How could you? He didn't listen. He saw the dollar bills. He didn't listen. He walks straight out of the crowd and disappears in the shadows of the Bet HaMikdash. And after a few minutes, he comes out and he's holding from the golden kelim of the Bet HaMikdash. And when the Goyim saw the kelim, they were like, ha ha ha, mahaba haba. They've never seen something more magnificent in their life. And they realized that this is just a small kelim. Could you imagine the menorah? Could you imagine the big stuff? So they ran up and they said, Yosef Meshisa, governor of Jerusalem, good job. And they took the kelim and they turned to him and said, go back inside. Get the bigger stuff. Get the menorah. Get the bigger stuff. Yosef Meshisa looks at them and says, no, not going to go back in. They said, this must be a negotiation. You want more money. That's what it's about. More money. You want more money. Okay. I'm not going to give you 5 years. We're going to give you 20 years of taxes in Jerusalem. Not only are you going to be a governor of Jerusalem, you're going to be a governor of Jerusalem, we're going to be a governor of Lud, we're going to give you other cities, you're going to be the... He says, no matter what you offer me, I'm not going back in. They looked at him. What do you mean? We'll give you more money. He says, no, nothing to do with money. We'll give you more title, prestige. Nothing to do. I will not go back in. They said, what? They realized that there's no moving him. So they took out their swords. And says the Midrash that they started to cut off his fingers one at a time. And they said, listen, we tried to do this with you, the nice guy, the nice way. We tried to go with you with the bribe. You don't want the bribe? We're going to have to go with the tough way. Are you going to go in? No. They chopped off a finger. Are you going to go in? No, you can kill me. I'm not going back in. The Midrash says, he opens his chest and he tells them, isn't it bad enough that I angered my God once. You think I'm going to go in a second time? And when they heard that, they killed him. And Yosef Meshisha died al yedei kiddush Hashem. You believe this story? It's in the Midrash. The guy that a minute ago they were screaming, Rasha, 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 you're the biggest Rasha in the world. Who in the world would go and steal from the Bet HaMikdash for the Goyim? There's no bigger aib than that in the world. That's the worst. The worst chutzpah in the planet. 5 minutes later, the biggest Rasha on earth is dying al yedei kiddush Hashem, and he says the big liner. Don't forget the big line of the story, guys. Isn't it bad enough that I angered my God once? I'm going to anger him a second time? Kill me! And they killed him al yedei kiddush Hashem. Would you believe it? What happened here? I'm sure even the Goyim wanted to hear pshat in this. What happened to this guy? 2 minutes ago, the biggest Rasha. 2 minutes later, he comes out, the biggest tzaddik, that dies al yedei kiddush Hashem. What's up with this guy? Was he schizophrenic? What happened? What's up with him? Says the Balei Musar, no. There was only one difference in the life of this Jew. He went into the Bet HaMikdash. He entered the Bet HaMikdash. Here's a Jew who was Lifnei Hashem for one moment. He walked into the Bet HaMikdash for a moment. Ki be'or panecha natata lanu Hashem Elokeinu Torah v'chaim ava v'chesed. He stood in front of the Or Panav of the Shekhinah. He walked into the Bet HaMikdash. He stood in front of Hashem. Lifnei Hashem titharu. Don't forget what we're going to say. Ki bayom hazeh yichaper alechem litaher etchem mikol chatotechem lifnei Hashem titharu. You know what brings the titharu? Lifnei Hashem. Lifanecha. Modeh ani lifanecha. Lifnei Hashem titharu. You know where this Jew, the biggest Rasha in the world, walked into for a minute, for a second even, for a few seconds. The biggest Rasha in the world. And he walks in. Lifnei Hashem. He walks out the biggest tzaddik, titharu. And he dies al yedei kiddush Hashem. Guys, where do we start? Where do we start? Where do we start? You need to know that this Yom Kippur, you're going to experience the most intimate and vivid Lifnei Hashem experience. You're going to be standing in front of God. It's the day that he comes the closest to Klal Yisrael. He's literally rubbing up against your nose. You're talking to him literally like you talk to your friend, kivyachol, a million times. But as if you're talking to someone straight away. I tell all my guys by the Ni'ilah speech, they tell me they wait for it every year. I tell them by the Ni'ilah speech, at the end of the speech, I tell them, every guy in this room, I don't care if you're married, you're not married, you're this, you're that. When it comes Ni'ilah, you take your talet, you put it over your head, and you just entered the Lifnei Hashem experience. You and God, there's nobody else around. The guy standing next to you doesn't exist. The guy in front row doesn't exist. The guy is next to you, God forbid if they were talking, they definitely don't exist. The ladies section doesn't exist. Nothing, the Hazan, nobody. There's just you and him, and that's it. And if you want to feel it, pull the talet over your head, you'll see there's just nothing but you and him. Lifnei Hashem, titharu. Modeh ani lifanecha. Thank you that I have the opportunity to stand in front of you. Ki ba'or panecha natata lanu Hashem Elokeinu Torah v'chaim, ahava v'chesed, tzedakah v'rachamim, beracha v'shalom. Everything comes from the or panecha, the realization that I am lifanecha. And on this Yom Kippur, it's the Lifanecha experience on steroids. It's 1,000,000 times more than the rest of the year. How could you not grab this? Yeah. Look what it did for one Jew. Big as Russia. Unbelievable. And that's why they say, if a Jew just comes to shul on Yom Kippur, so many times you'll see people in shul that you won't see all year. Not so religious. Give them the biggest chazak u'baruch. Welcome them in very warm. Don't drop them the zingers. Oh, must be Yom Kippur today. I hear these lines. Every year they zing these. No, don't give zingers. This isn't the day for zingers, please. Welcome them with warmth. Because if they're going to experience a real Yom Kippur, Lifnei Hashem, you be sure they'll be back Simchat Torah. You make sure that they experience that Lifnei Hashem. That they feel comfortable, they feel welcome, they feel in the presence of God, not in the presence of hecklers. That's very important. Honor the people that come in on Yom Kippur, even if that's the one time a year that they come into shul. Open the doors for them, give them a siddur, make sure they have a chair. And if they didn't pay for the seat, you'll talk to them after the holiday, not on the holiday. Please, Rabotai, we don't want other experiences on Yom Kippur. We only want the Lifnei Hashem experience. I'd like to end off with a quick, small story that I heard years ago from my Rebbe. He says that there was a Yerushalmi man that lo aleinu lo aleichem, one of his children came down with a very bad sickness, and there was only one doctor in Israel who understood this very rare, unique sickness and understood how to treat it. After he finally got the number for this doctor, this Yerushalmi man calls the doctor's office in Tel Aviv, begs them and pleads with them to give him an appointment for his child. And after finally getting an appointment that was a month later, he pleaded and begged, please, you don't understand. It's serious. I can't wait a month. My child's life. I said, okay. They call him back. There's a cancellation. Come tomorrow. He was elated. He comes the next day. He was told, be there at 1 o'clock sharp. Don't be late. For this doctor, you got to be there, mamash. You don't understand. There's mobs of people waiting for him. He's the only doctor that knows how to deal with this sickness. So he comes from Yerushalayim with a sherut with his child, and he comes to the place, and he tells the taxi driver, listen, I'm going to be here for about 2 hours. So if you're in the area, I'll take you back. He says, you know what? I'll stay here for you. I'll be around. No problem. Just call me. When you need me, I'll take you back to Yerushalayim. Okay, thank you. He goes up. He's there at 5 to 11, on time. He walks up to the secretary. My name is so-and-so. 11 o'clock appointment. He looks in the waiting room and he sees the place is mobbed. Mobbed. He turns to the secretary and says, do you have my name? She says, yeah. You have an 11 o'clock appointment. He said, yes. She says, okay, have a seat. Okay. He sits down. He sees there's about 100 people in front of him. And he's thinking, how in the world is he getting his 11 o'clock appointment? It's 5 to 11. Well, 11 o'clock came. 11:10. 11:20. 11:30. They told him that this doctor is Miduyak. He walks up to the secretary and says, what's going on? It's 11:30. I thought this doctor was precise, prompt. She says, well, the doctor's not in. What? Why didn't you tell me? She says, right before you came, he had an emergency, and he had to run to Jerusalem. He said, to Jerusalem? I just came from Jerusalem. I'm sorry, sir. He should be back, hopefully soon. He says, how long? I don't know. That's why everybody's waiting. Could be an hour, could be 2 hours, could be 5, I don't know. Okay, he sits down. An hour goes by, 2 hours go by. Doctor's not coming. He walks up to the secretary, please, could you call the doctor? It's an emergency. It's for my child. He's the only one that knows this sickness. I'm begging you. Call him from the road. Find out, where is he? I'll meet him in Jerusalem. Just tell me. He started getting all worked up. He started sweating. Suddenly he started to shake. He felt like he was going to faint. He was worked up from the heat and the anxiety and the tense moments, sitting there for hours in a waiting room with no air. He's about to faint. He says, please, can I get a cup of water? Someone runs and gets him a cup of water. He takes the water and he walks away for a moment. He stands by the wall and he says, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shakol niya bidvaro. And he drinks. And then he stops. Baruch atah Hashem. Baruch atah Hashem. I'm talking to you, Hashem? You mean Hashem? You're here. The doctor's not here. But you are here. I'm talking to you, that means you're here. Baruch atah, you, Hashem. You're here. You're here. Shahakol nihiya bidvaro. Everything comes from your word. Everything comes from you. You're the only one that can do anything for anyone. And you're right here. Who cares if the doctor's not here? You're here. And you're the one that gives the refuah. Shakol niya bidvaro. What am I doing? Right then and there, in the office, in the waiting room, he starts to pray by that wall as if he was praying by the Kotel HaMa'aravi, and he prayed up a tefillah with tears and shuckling and begging, Abba, Abba, I beg you, you're the Rofei Kol Basar, you're the Rofei Hinam. Please, refuah to my child. That's it. He felt that tefillah like he never felt a prayer before, because he found who he was talking to and he realized who he was standing in front of. He runs back and picks up his child and he carries him down the stairs, and just then the taxi pulls up. The taxi says, no! Makara! What happened? Ata hayita etzel harofeh? The Yerushalmi man looks at him and says, Ken, הייתי אצל הרופא. הרופא סידר את הכל. Who סידר את הכל. He took care of everything. Baruch Hashem, my child's fine. Gets back in the car, he says, נחזור לירושלים. He comes back to Jerusalem. The next day he takes his son in for testing. Klum. Nothing. Clean. 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 Baruch atah Hashem. You're talking to somebody. Shahakol nihiya bidvaro. You're talking to the one that he and only he, from him everything comes. Shh. Ay, ay, ay. Remember, 48 hours. Al chet shechatanu lifanecha. Modeh ani lifanecha. But most of all, ki ba'or panecha natata lanu. Hashem Elokeinu, Torah v'chaim, Ava v'chesed, Tzedakah b'rachamim, Beracha v'shalom.